If you need to stop quickly and your vehicle is not equipped with an anti-lock braking system (ABS), you should A. Hold down the brake pedal. B. Firmly pump your brakes. C. Lightly tap the brakes. D. Release the brake pedal. B. Firmly pump your brakes. Pumping the brakes is generally the best way to stop a car in an emergency. The car will stop quickly and you will also be able to continue steering. Which of the following lights indicates that you should slow down and proceed with caution at an intersection? A. A flashing yellow light. B. A flashing red light. C. A solid yellow light. D. A solid red light. A. A flashing yellow light. A flashing yellow traffic light at an intersection indicates that drivers must slow down, proceed with caution, and be prepared to stop. An approaching driver fails to dim their high-beam headlights. Where should you look? A. At the wheels of the approaching vehicle. B. Toward the right side of the road. C. Toward the left side of the road. D. Straight down the middle of the road. B. Toward the right side of the road. If an approaching driver fails to dim their high beams, glance toward the right side of the road. This will keep you from being blinded by the other vehicle's headlights and will allow you to see enough of the road to stay on course until the other vehicle has passed. When driving in fog, you should use your A. Low beam headlights. B. High beam headlights. C. Parking lights. D. Hazard flashers.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
A good defensive driver. A. Drives slowly at all times. B. Looks out for the actions of other drivers. C. Travels at a constant speed. D. Only drives in familiar areas. B. Looks out for the actions of other drivers. Even the most experienced drivers can be distracted while driving. A defensive driver looks out for the actions of other drivers and anticipates potential problems. The consumption of alcohol while taking drugs can A. Decrease the effects of the drugs and alcohol. B. Increase the effects of both the drugs and alcohol. C. Help cure your illness. D. Improve your driving ability. B. Increase the effects of both the drugs and alcohol. The combination of alcohol and drugs, in some cases, can increase the effects of both the drugs and alcohol. It can be unsafe to drive after consuming either alcohol or drugs and is even more dangerous after combining them. This sign means A. Watch for trucks. B. Do not pass trucks. C. Truck parking area ahead. D. Steep downgrade ahead. D. Steep downgrade ahead. This sign warns of the presence of a hill ahead. This road sign means A. Increase your speed. B. Railroad crossing ahead. C. Intersection ahead. D. Four-way stop ahead. C. Intersection ahead. This sign means that you are approaching an upcoming intersection. Watch carefully for cross traffic. Roads freeze quickly when they are A. Flat. B. Curvy. C. In the sun. D. Shaded. D. Shaded. In cold or wet weather, you should take special care on sections of road that are shaded by trees or buildings. These areas freeze more quickly than the rest of the road and are the last parts of the road to dry. What should you do if your accelerator sticks while you are driving? A. Reach down and attempt to pull it up. B. Shift to park. C. Shift to neutral and apply steady pressure on the brake. D. Turn the engine off. C. Shift to neutral and apply steady pressure on the brake. If your accelerator sticks while you are driving, keep your eyes on the road. Quickly shift the vehicle into neutral and apply steady pressure on the brake pedal. Pull off the road when it is safe to do so and turn off the engine. This road sign means A. When pavement is wet, reduce your speed. B. The road ahead winds a series of turns or curves. C. Traffic increases ahead. D. Steep grade ahead. A. When pavement is wet, reduce your speed. This sign warns that pavement is slippery when wet. In wet conditions, you should reduce your speed, avoid braking or changing direction suddenly, and increase the distance between your vehicle and the one ahead. A load extending more than. Fill in the blank. Beyond the rear of a vehicle must be marked by a red flag during the day. A. 1 foot. B. 2 feet. C. 3 feet. D. 4 feet. D. 4 feet. If a load extends more than 4 feet past the rear of a vehicle, it must be marked by a red flag when being transported during the day in clear weather. The flag should be 18 inches square. Red lights and reflectors are required when transporting the load in times of limited visibility. Traffic signals sometimes display arrows to control turns from specific lanes. A green arrow A is used only on one-way streets. B has the same meaning as a circular green traffic light, but traffic must turn in the direction indicated by the arrow. C means that you may proceed, but only if the green arrow is accompanied by a circular green light. D points the way to an airport. B has the same meaning as a circular green traffic light, but traffic must turn in the direction indicated by the arrow. A green arrow has the same meaning as a circular green traffic light, but traffic in the indicated lane must turn in the direction shown by the arrow. If a traffic light is out of order, drivers should A. Treat the intersection as a four-way stop. B. Treat the intersection as a roundabout. C. Drive without stopping but proceed with caution. D. Assume they have the right of way. A. Treat the intersection as a four-way stop. If a traffic light is out of order, drivers should treat the intersection as a four-way stop. The driver who arrives at the intersection first has the right of way. Allowing a space cushion between your vehicle and its surroundings is important because it A. Prevents distractions from other vehicles. B. Allows you time to react to unexpected situations. C. Keeps traffic flowing at a safe pace. D. Keeps other drivers alert. B. Allows you time to react to unexpected situations. The only way to be sure you will have enough time to react to mistakes made by other drivers is to leave plenty of space between you and the vehicles around you. If you are driving in another driver's blind spot, you should A. Move forward or drop back so the other driver can see you. B. Keep a steady pace. C. Stay in the driver's blind spot. D. Honk to let them know you are there. A. Move forward or drop back so the other driver can see you. Do not drive in someone else's blind spot. Move forward or drop back so that the other driver can see you. You are driving on a narrow road when you meet an oncoming vehicle. You must A. Pull completely off the road and stop. B. Allow the oncoming vehicle at least one half of the main traveled portion of the road. C. Demand the other vehicle pull over to make room. D. Turn on your high beam headlights to make sure the other vehicle sees you. B. Allow the oncoming vehicle at least one half of the main traveled portion of the road. On narrow roads, you must allow vehicles traveling in the opposite direction at least one half of the main traveled portion of the road. Both vehicles must have adequate space in order for the drivers to safely pass one another. When is it illegal to drive below the speed limit? A. When driving slowly disrupts the normal flow of traffic. B. When in heavy traffic in a construction zone. C. Only when driving in rural areas. D. When driving under adverse weather conditions. A. When driving slowly disrupts the normal flow of traffic. It is illegal to drive so slowly that you disrupt the normal flow of traffic. You may receive a citation for driving too slowly. If you're going to turn left onto a one-way street, you should complete the turn into A. The right lane. B. The lane closest to your previous lane. C. Either lane. D. Neither lane. If a green arrow turns into a solid green light, you A. May still turn, but you must yield to oncoming traffic. B. May no longer turn and must proceed straight. C. Still have the right of way to turn. D. No longer have to turn in the direction that the arrow indicated. A. May still turn, but you must yield to oncoming traffic. If a green arrow turns into a solid green light, you may still turn in the direction that the arrow was pointing, but you must first yield to pedestrians and oncoming traffic. This road sign means A. Intersection ahead. B. Steep grade ahead. C. Winding road. D. Merging traffic. B. Steep grade ahead. This sign indicates that a steep downhill grade is ahead. A flashing red traffic signal at an intersection has the same requirements as A. A slow sign. B. A yield sign. C. A stop sign. D. An intersection sign. C. A stop sign. When approaching a flashing red signal, you must stop and yield to all traffic that does not have to stop. Allow a larger space cushion than usual when stopping. A. On an incline. B. At an intersection. C. At a stop sign. D. At a toll plaza. A. On an incline. You should allow more space in front of your vehicle than usual when you are stopped on an uphill slope. If the vehicle in front of you rolls backward toward your vehicle when traffic begins to move again, it is less likely that there will be a collision. If you are convicted for driving under the influence and it is your first conviction, you may be subjected to A. Only a fine. B. A fine and community service. C. A fine, community service, and jail time. D. A fine, community service, jail time, DUI school, license revocation, and an ignition interlock device. D. A fine, community service, jail time, DUI school, license revocation, and an ignition interlock device. Penalties for the first conviction of a DUI may include a fine, community service, imprisonment, license revocation, and the installment of an ignition interlock device. Penalties will increase as the number of DUI convictions increase. When you are in a line of traffic that is crossing a railroad track that has no signals or gates. A. You have the right of way and do not need to check for trains. B. You may pass slower drivers while crossing the track. C. You need to make sure there is space for your vehicle to get all the way across the tracks without stopping. D. All of the above. C. You need to make sure there is space for your vehicle to get all the way across the tracks without stopping. If you are following another vehicle at a railroad crossing, check to make sure you have enough room to get all the way across before you drive onto the tracks. You should never try to pass another vehicle as you approach or cross a railroad crossing. Always check for trains before crossing any railroad tracks. If you are driving on a one-way street and an emergency vehicle using its flashing lights approaches your vehicle, you must A. Drive with your flashers turned on. B. Drive toward the nearest roadside and stop. C. Speed up and take the nearest exit. D. Slow down until the vehicle passes you. B. Drive toward the nearest roadside and stop. If an emergency vehicle using its lights or siren approaches while you are driving on a one-way street, you must drive toward the nearest roadside and stop. Your ability to stop is affected by A. Signal lights. B. Other cars on the road. C. The time of day. D. The condition of the road. D. The condition of the road. Your ability to stop is greatly affected by the condition of the road. You need to reduce your speed when road conditions are poor in order to maintain control of your vehicle. You will be at risk if you are driving too quickly on roads that are slippery and you need to stop. What does an orange-colored sign indicate? A. The start of a no-passing zone. B. A railroad crossing is ahead. C. A school zone is ahead. D. The presence of construction work. D. The presence of construction work. Construction, maintenance, and emergency operations signs are generally orange with black symbols. This sign means A. Two-way traffic. B. Lane shifting. C. Low clearance. D. Added lane. A. Two-way traffic. Warning signs prepare drivers for upcoming road conditions and hazards and are usually yellow with black markings. This sign tells drivers that they may encounter traffic coming from the opposite direction. What does alcohol do to your driving skills and judgment? A. It helps driving skills but harms your judgment. B. It harms both driving skills and judgment. C. It has no effect on either driving skills or judgment. D. It has no effect on judgment but it harms driving skills. B. It harms both driving skills and judgment. Alcohol negatively affects many skills needed for safe driving, including your reaction time and ability to see clearly. It can also harm your judgment of speed and distance, lower your inhibitions, and make you more prone to taking chances. You are driving up a hill and are approaching a heavy truck from the rear. You should know that A. The truck may be traveling at a speed slower than the posted speed limit. B. You may not be able to safely pass the truck. C. You may not be able to legally pass the truck. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Drivers must be aware that large vehicles often travel at a speed slower than the posted speed limit, especially when driving on an incline, and should use caution when approaching a large vehicle from the rear. When on a hill with limited visibility, it is unlawful to pass another vehicle. Seat belts are most effective when they are worn by A. The person driving the car. B. Passengers when they are on a long drive. C. All occupants of a car being driven on an expressway. D. All occupants of a car every time the car is driven. D. All occupants of a car every time the car is driven. When you drive, make sure each person in your vehicle wears a seat belt. In the event of a crash, a person without a seat belt becomes a flying object and a danger to each person in the vehicle. Which of the following statements is true? A. A sudden change in weather calls for a change in driving. B. You should slow down when driving in rain and fog. C. Be particularly aware of vehicles coming up behind you in inclement weather. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. If the weather changes suddenly, you will need to adjust your driving to adapt. Always slow down when driving in rainy or foggy conditions. Be especially aware of vehicles behind you that may be going too fast for conditions. This sign means A. Pedestrians ahead. B. End of construction zone. C. School crossing ahead. D. Flagger ahead. D. Flagger ahead. This sign indicates that there is a flagger ahead controlling traffic in a construction area. Which statement about speed is true? A. Driving too slowly on certain highways can be dangerous. B. Speeding can kill. C. Speeding is not dangerous if you are a skilled driver. D. Both driving too slowly on certain highways can be dangerous and speeding can kill. D. Both driving too slowly on certain highways can be dangerous and speeding can kill. As speed increases, the chance of a fatality increases. If you are moving faster than 80 miles per hour, you have almost no chance of living through a crash. Driving more slowly than other traffic can also be dangerous because other motorists may become impatient and make dangerous moves to pass you. You may cross solid yellow lines. A. To pass traffic moving in the same direction. B. During daylight hours only. C. At any time. D. When making turns. D. When making turns. As a general rule, broken traffic lines may be crossed but solid lines may not. Solid yellow lines may be crossed only when the driver is making a turn. The effect that alcohol has on your reflexes and judgment. A. Is less pronounced when consuming beer instead of wine. B. Is less pronounced when consuming wine instead of beer. C. Is most pronounced when consuming hard ciders and mixed drinks. D. Depends on the amount of alcohol in your bloodstream. D. Depends on the amount of alcohol in your bloodstream. Consuming any type of alcohol can have negative effects on your reflexes and judgment. It does not matter which type of alcohol is consumed, only how much alcohol has entered a person's bloodstream. The posted speed limit shows A. Only a recommended driving speed. B. The exact speed at which you must travel to avoid a ticket. C. The maximum safe driving speed under ideal road and weather conditions. D. The maximum safe driving speed under all road conditions. C. The maximum safe driving speed under ideal road and weather conditions. A speed limit sign shows the maximum legal driving speed for the stretch of highway where it is posted. Driving safely may require you to travel more slowly than the posted limit. When conditions are less than ideal, drivers should slow down. This sign means A. No U-turn. B. No turning. C. No left turn. D. No right turn. A. No U-turn. This sign prohibits U-turns. Do not make a U-turn where this sign is posted. When you see this sign, you must A. Stop completely and check for pedestrians and cross traffic. B. Slow down without coming to a complete stop. C. Stop completely and wait for a green light. D. Slow down and check for traffic. A. Stop completely and check for pedestrians and cross traffic. Any 8-sided sign is a stop sign. At an intersection with a stop sign, you must stop completely and check for pedestrians and cross traffic in the intersection. Wait for the intersection to clear before proceeding. A work zone. A. May be moving or stationary. B. Is marked with black and white signs. C. Does not require a driver to slow down and pay extra attention. D. All of the above. A. May be moving or stationary. Work zones are often stationary, but they may also be present in the form of moving vehicles striping lines, mowing, or removing snow. Work zones are marked by orange signs with black lettering or symbols. Slow down and pay extra attention when approaching or driving through a work zone. You are approaching an intersection when the traffic light changes from green to solid yellow. You should A. Consider it the same as a caution sign and continue through the intersection. B. Stop immediately. C. Stop before entering the intersection, unless you are too close to stop safely. D. Speed up to get through the intersection before the red light appears. C. Stop before entering the intersection, unless you are too close to stop safely. When approaching an intersection with a solid yellow traffic light, slow to a stop before entering the intersection, if it is safe to do so. If you can't stop safely, drive carefully through the intersection. A diamond-shaped sign. A. Warns of existing or possible hazards. B. Alerts drivers to school zones. C. Alerts drivers to public recreation areas. D. Alerts drivers to upcoming food and gas locations. A. Warns of existing or possible hazards. Diamond-shaped signs warn drivers of existing or potential driving hazards. You will usually see these signs in yellow or orange. Drinking coffee after drinking alcohol. A. Decreases blood alcohol concentration. B. Cancels the effect of the alcohol. C. Has no effect on blood alcohol concentration. D. Increases blood alcohol concentration. C. Has no effect on blood alcohol concentration. Drinking coffee will not reduce your blood alcohol concentration, BAC. While it may help you to stay awake, it cannot change your BAC or make you sober. This road sign means A. Cars in right lane must slow down. B. No left turn. C. Merge. D. Pass only in the right lane. C. Merge. This sign indicates a merge ahead. It warns that two lanes of traffic moving in the same direction are about to become one. If you are driving on the interstate and pass your exit, you should A. Quickly cut across traffic to make your turn. B. Make a U-turn to go back to the exit. C. Continue driving and use the next exit. D. Put your vehicle in reverse to go back to the exit. C. Continue driving and use the next exit. Don't make a last-minute turn into an exit. If you pass your exit, you must go to the next one. A double solid yellow line down the center of a two-lane road indicates A. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are not permitted to pass. B. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are permitted to pass when it is safe to do so. C. Lanes are moving in the same direction and drivers are not permitted to pass. D. Lanes are moving in the same direction and drivers are permitted to pass when it is safe to do so. A. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are not permitted to pass. Yellow lines are used to separate traffic moving in opposite directions. Solid lines indicate that drivers are not permitted to pass. A speed restriction sign. A. May be ignored in rainy, snowy, or icy conditions. B. Has a triangular shape. C. Is blue with black lettering. D. Shows a recommended speed for a curve or turn. D. Shows a recommended speed for a curve or turn. Curve and turn warning signs often have attached advisory speed signs that show a recommended driving speed for drivers in the curves and turns. Although a driver may feel comfortable driving at a higher speed in fair weather, they should never do so under rainy, snowy, or icy conditions. You may cross double solid yellow lines. A. To pass a slow-moving truck. B. To turn into a driveway. C. To pass another car. D. Under no conditions. B. To turn into a driveway. Double solid lines indicate that you may not pass or change lanes. You cannot cross the lines unless it is to turn left to enter or exit a highway, to turn into or from a driveway, or to make a U-turn where permitted. A person who drives much slower than the speed limit. A. Is a very safe driver. B. Always has the right of way. C. Should not let following cars pass. D. May create a dangerous driving environment. D. May create a dangerous driving environment. Driving more slowly than the flow of traffic can be hazardous. If you are on a two-lane, two-way road and driving so slowly that traffic is backing up behind you, you are required to pull off the road and let the other vehicles pass. Only drive significantly under the speed limit when conditions require it.